We get texts. Jones, the way you interpret information baffles me, which
it's a good line.
That's fair. I mean, that's good. How does my brain work? I have no idea. How in the world are you saying McDaniels is getting the OC job? I mean, how do you not think
who else is
he's the heavy favorite? I don't want that.
Yeah.
I hope to God somebody else gets the job. But how do you not think, based on the way all these beat writers are talking about it? Terp was showing me numbers that he's the favorite. It's plus money, but he's the favorite to get the job on some of these betting apps. So,
well, I'd ask anybody else, like, who do you think is getting it? And then I'd love to hear who that candidate is.
Who do you even think the second most popular candidate? Who's the name that even is giving him a run for his money? Who even is that? Like, we both said Dave Ragone. We like Dave Ragone.
Tim Kelly?
You like Tanner Engstrand, Tim Kelly, Nick Caley.
Not Jim Kelly.
Like, who even is the other person who could get it? It would have been Tommy Rees. Tommy Rees was the one that made sense. The Browns kept him. So I don't even know who the real rival for it is. There's a bunch of guys I personally would hire over Josh McDaniels. But who's the other real candidate? You don't even hear the Curran didn't even bring up the name.
No.
Schefter didn't even bring up the name.
No, I know. They didn't bring up any other names.
People don't even have another name to bring up that's a real candidate.
No, I would now pick, not me pick, but I would predict McDaniels
over the field
versus the field. Yeah.
Definitely.
No, so Tim Kelly was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee, Mike Vrabel's last year. Certainly not a banner offense, but, they didn't have A.J. Brown, and the quarterback situation was what it was. And he is currently the tight ends coach for the Giants, meaning it wouldn't be a lateral move at all. It's not like you're plucking another OC just to be an OC. Like, he has familiarity with him. Who knows? I don't know if he likes him, dislikes him, we don't really know. That's been a name that's been speculated if you're just trying to connect the dots. It doesn't mean it has to be somebody that you've worked with before either.
No.
It doesn't have to be, but it just feels like it's pushing towards Josh McDaniels.
Another name we brought up is Josh McCown. I think is interviewing the Jets today for their head coaching job, I believe.
Okay.
I thought I saw that earlier today.
Well, the Jets were interviewing like 20 people.
They have a long list. They certainly do.
Could be him.
Where did I see that today? Let me just fact check myself on that. I believe he's interviewing with the Jets today, or he concluded an interview, something like that. But Josh McCown to me would be an interesting name. It's Jordan Schultz said McCown will interview for their open head coaching position today.
It's been pretty crickets on the Patriots front, which is surprising because even though it was a sham interview for the head coach, they kind of lined that up pretty quick, right? They only interviewed 4 people. They only seriously interviewed 1, but they lined it up. Actually, I don't even know if they seriously interviewed him. I think he already had the job before that process. But we got the names, we got the graphics, we made fun of one of them, and then we kind of moved on. Then they're like, all right, we got the guy. We already told you the guy's going to be able to pick his coaching staff. And we're waiting.
Yeah.
We're in like a holding pattern.
It's
and not
odd.
even any announcements.
It's odd.
Because even last year, remember we started to get all the names of all the offensive coordinators. And we're like, this guy, that guy, this guy.
So many names.
There's a ton of names. No head coaches because Gerard Mayo was handed the job. Everybody else, it was 12, 13 guys. And it was funny because if you remember a year ago, it was, all right, so-and-so might get a second interview. And then they just interviewed this guy. And then it was like one day, Alex Van Pelt's the guy. We're like, what? And you're like, yeah, everybody else, clearly there was an issue.
Well, Caley said no, and Zach Robinson went to the Falcons, and Kubiak went to the Saints. And
Shane Waldron.
Nobody took your job.
Luke Getsy.
And so you had to go to Alex Van Pelt. One other thing to bring up. Greg Bedard had a clip about McDaniels as well that I listened to. And it's the second time I've now heard this. Because one of my stances on McDaniels and why I don't want him, I don't think anybody else would hire him. Bedard brought up Detroit, too. Phil brought up Detroit to me. Bedard brought up Detroit as a potential fit for Josh McDaniels. If Ben Johnson takes a head coaching job elsewhere. Could you imagine? Look, those guys are more plugged in than me. They talk to people.
Yes.
But would the Lions really go back? They flamed out with Patricia. I know Josh McDaniels is a different person, but he's a failed head coach. Would they really go back to the Bill Belichick coaching tree based on the Patricia experience? Maybe. That's what Bedard and Phil are telling me, but I wouldn't feel good about that if I were the Lions.
No, I don't really understand that connection either, but you're right. Multiple people have said it. And
do me a favor, just kind of sit up and just have a little respect for the process.
Especially because speaking of Patricia, Ben Johnson was on the Matt Patricia staff.
Good point. Yeah. He effectively promoted Ben Johnson from the Dolphins.
He was in Miami first, and then he was there. But didn't they learn a pretty valuable lesson about promoting a guy in-house? Ben Johnson was with the Lions for 3 years before he became, or 4 years even, I think, before he became the offensive coordinator. Maybe he was in his 4th year. But so they just promoted him in-house. So, wouldn't you want to keep as much consistency as possible? And Tanner Engstrom's a guy I like because I feel like he'd be the next in line.
Yeah,
there.
I would promote from within. I wouldn't want to change offenses and things like so. But it's the second time I've heard it.
Yeah, all right, something.
Dubs985, fair point in the Twitch chat. Just because nobody would hire him shouldn't be the reason not to hire him. I guess not. It speaks to he's not a sought-after candidate. That's what it speaks to. That doesn't necessarily make him the wrong hire. You're right about that. But it speaks to
how about this?
Him not being a highly sought-after hot candidate.
It means maybe he's not the right guy for the job, but you also don't need to rush to hire him. Meaning you can take your time and interview these guys. Some of these guys that are still on playoff teams, like really do a full search and make sure you don't settle.
And it's my counter to, if no one else would hire him, it's my counter to, oh, he's such a good offensive coordinator. Anybody would hire him. Really?
Well, I don't know about that.
I don't think he has an interview. So, like, what's the rush?
No, I don't. There's no rush.
The guy was out of football last year. And he was out of football for half the year before that. And I'm told he's this great candidate. Like, what? Where are his interviews? Maybe he'll get a job, and I'll be wrong about this, but that is a strike against him. It's not the reason not to hire him. Fair. There's a lot of reasons not to hire Josh McDaniels. But that is on my list. And I think it tells you that not a lot of people want to, hire him and think he's a viable candidate.
No, but what's also strange is people around the league are suggesting, oh, maybe he goes to Detroit. Well, what about all the openings right now? How come he hasn't interviewed for any of those openings right now? Now, maybe some of it is teams right now.
A lot of those teams don't even have head coaches.
Yeah, so maybe that's your answer. But
guys, people are interviewing for coordinators' jobs. I mean, that's happening.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.